Let's talk for a little while about the intervals between action. This is an important concept. This is something I hope you pay attention to because the intervals between action give us some key intelligence into the situation, the war, the battle itself, and also the mind of our opponent. So, we've got three different areas that we're going to talk about within the context of intervals between action, the space of time between different actions. So we have shorter intervals, longer intervals, and periods of more inactivity. So let's talk about each one of these. Clausewitz says that shorter intervals, shorter spaces of time between actions, are caused by greater tensions. So greater tensions which led to the war. So if there's a much more compelling reason, a much stronger reason to go to war, then there will be shorter intervals between actions. Basically, you're mad, you're pissed off, so you're just going to go in there and fight hard and fast. Shorter intervals are also indicative of and related to a greater war effort. So if your opponent is limiting the time, it's because they're making a stronger war effort and their motivations for going to war are probably stronger than you might have initially suspected. Longer war efforts and longer intervals between actions are indicative of weaker motives. This is something very powerful that you can keep in mind for your normal life. If you're engaged in some kind of longer, protracted fight against somebody, whether that be at work, in society, in some type of community organizing, or what have you, a longer war effort, a more protracted war effort, and longer intervals, longer and more frequent intervals between actions is generally indicative of a weaker motive. So keep that in mind. Very important concept. Finally, Clausewitz tells us that the more inactivity there is, the more probability there is. So inactivity is a catalyst of probability. The time allows for more calculating and more probability on both sides. The calculations depend on the pace or the speed of operation. If your enemy has superior strategic ability, then you have to deny them the time to calculate. So, very, very simple concept here. More inactivity, more free time equals more probability. If you're fighting somebody or if you're engaged in a conflict with somebody who's a superior strategist to you, this is often hard to recognize because while people often overestimate their opponents, most people want to think that they're smarter than somebody else, but you're probably not. So if you're dealing with a superior strategist, keep in mind that the more space between activity, between actions you have, the more probability there is. And you need to deny them that time. You need to narrow the gap between actions to deny them the ability to calculate and lay strategic plans, especially if they're strategically superior to you.